Yo, what's up everyone? OJ over here from PlayerEssence. Welcome to another video. Today, we're going to be talking about the best controllers for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. You can't, wait, this controller is not supported in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? Alright, well whatever. We're not going to be talking about that controller. We're going to be talking about the actual controllers that are supported in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, like this crispy, cool Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Nintendo Switch Pro controller that can be yours for the low price of $79.99 or gouged online for scalpers. It's up to you what you want to do. But there's also other controllers. This is one of the most requested questions I get whenever I play Smash Brothers. I talk about Smash Brothers. Hey OJ, what type of controller do you use? Or what's the best controller to use for Super Smash Brothers? But it's not the most requested question. This question is,
hey OJ, who's your main in Smash Ultimate?
So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get into this, guys. We have the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. We have the GameCube controller. You guys all know the elitist controller right here. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that one. We have the Nintendo Switch Joycons. So you need these if you want to play in true handheld mode. So we're gonna talk about that. These are the Smash Edition. Look at these great designs. I'm covering it up. You can't even see it. Look at these great designs with this Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons here. You can use them by like themselves, like let's just say like one of them, or you can use them together. So that's an option for you guys. And also third-party controllers too. There is the Power A controller that I don't have, but you guys have probably seen the Power A controller. It's like a GameCube controller. There's also one that's like a Nintendo Switch Pro controller. Those ones you can just adapt for either the GameCube controller or the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. But we do have another kind of weird controller. Shoutouts to John from Spawnwave. This 8-bit controller, which does work with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and I did test it out, so it's going to be interesting to see kind of what I feel about this controller. We're going to do some live gameplay tests, guys. It's going to be pretty cool, so let's go ahead and get right into it, shall we? Alright guys, we're starting off using the Joy-Cons here, like you guys saw, and to be honest, I mean, the biggest issue that I see with this controller with using the Joy-Cons is really just the size of the buttons. The buttons on the controller are a bit small, so sometimes barely pressing the button for like short hops can be a little difficult for me on the Joy-Cons, just because they don't have that much like as big of a surface area, but then also they're not quite as like squishy to gauge the tap. So you really have to be careful with these. So just the biggest issue that I see with this controller, which I mean you can get over it, but basically short hopping would be the biggest problem that I have. Now when it comes to tilts and you know, fast falls, those are okay, but really I have some little grips on here that give me better with the thumbsticks. It gives me a little bit better control. So I mean, without those, that would be tough. That would be tough. And as you can see, I'm trying to short hop here. And like I said, just because of the size of the buttons and just like the type of button, like when you press it, it just does make short hopping a little bit harder than it should be. However, if you want to play the game in complete handheld mode, then this would be the control that you need to play. Now that's different from tabletop, because tabletop, obviously you can use a Pro controller and other stuff that we'll talk about, but I'm just talking about usually I would say you can use this, you know, the Joy-Cons when you want to play the game in handheld, or if that was your only option to where you can play it in handheld. I guess it's serviceable, but definitely not for like high level play or anything like that, just because for me I need to be able to short hop correctly as accurately as possible, and these Joy-Cons make that difficult. Now in terms of doing other stuff, like just like doing regular attacks and everything, it's fine, you know, even like reverse pivoting and things like that, I don't really see a problem with it too much. But the short hop is probably the main problem. And then also accidentally hitting other buttons too, that can be an issue depending on how big your hands are and you know, the surface area on your thumbs and your fingers. Well, your thumbs actually, not your fingers, but on your thumbs. It might have some problems because the buttons are small on the Joy-Con once again. So yeah, if I was to rate like all these controllers I'm going to be using today, Joy-Cons would probably be at the bottom of the list and probably the worst controller to use for Smash. Now there is another option. I am using two Joy-Cons together. There is an option to use the Joy-Cons sideways by itself, and you know what, I'm not even going to entertain that one because obviously that is not ideal to play the game using using a Joy-Con just by itself sideways. That is definitely not how you want to play. Although it's there. It's there if you need two controllers and people want to just play some casual Smash. I think you can definitely use it for that. So that is with the Joy-Cons. Let's move on to the next controller here. All right, so let's move on to probably the weirdest controller that I have here, and that's the 8BitO controller, guys. And to be honest, this controller isn't as bad as you might think. It's actually easier to short hop because of the buttons and kind of how big they are than the Joy-Cons, so that's definitely good. And you can do all your tilts and everything, but the only problem that I see with this controller, or at least the biggest issue that I see with the controller, is the grip. Obviously this controller does not have like handles on each side, so like other controllers, for example, like the GameCube controller, which we'll talk about, and of course the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, and even like the Power 8 and other controllers that are made, the other standard Pro controllers, this one does not have a grip. So while the 8BitO controller is okay for doing attacks and doing tilts and movement is fine, the fact that there's no grips on there could be somewhat of an issue when you get into more intense battles and everything. But like when it comes to moving around and doing short hops and fast falling and back airs and forward airs and all that good stuff and tilting, like you can really kind of just do everything that you need to do with this controller. But like I said, the no grips on there are probably an issue, and most of you guys are probably like, what the hell does he even have an 8BitO controller in the first place? But I just wanted to test it out, and yeah, it does work with Smash Brothers, so you're more than free to use it if you need an extra controller, and it's not horrible. It's not horrible. Now, the position of the stick's not necessarily my favorite. It has like that PlayStation position, and in Smash Brothers you cannot use the D-pad for movement. That is just the taunt button, so you have to use it for taunt, so you can't switch them around. So maybe if you could use the D-pad for movement in this game, the 8BitO controller would be a better option, but since you can't, it is what it is there. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Good controller, not bad overall, not the best. Better than the Joy-Cons, but probably not better than the two controllers that we're going to talk about soon here. All right, next up, guys, it's probably one of the best controllers ever made. Now, is it one of the best controllers ever made for Smash? We'll see about that, and that is the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. So this controller is actually really good, and to believe it or not, it's actually better than I thought it would be, based on a few different things. One, of course, it has the grips, has the handles for both of your hands on the side, so it's easy to make sure that you hold on and not be able to drop the controller like potentially the Joy-Cons or the 8BitO controller. But what makes this controller really good is the buttons and the sticks. Like, it's not hard to kind of dash dance, fast fall, short hopping. All that to me is actually very easy to do with this controller. Very easy to do, like reverse pivots, back airs, forward smashes, whatever you need to do, and get that controller right back. See how you can like quickly turn around to do some back airs with Mario and fast fall quickly, a lot faster than I was able to do, and more efficiently than with the other controllers that I've used so far. So like the 8BitO controller, or of course the Joy-Cons, which are the worst ones there. But once again, I think the really good thing about this controller here is how good the buttons feel. Like when you press the buttons, like you don't feel like there's a problem with short hopping, which I felt a little bit, not as much with the 8BitO controller, but the Joy-Cons. You don't feel like you're ever gonna have a problem short hopping too much, because you can put the right amount of pressure on there without it being too much to get the full hop. And once again, like short hopping is incredibly important in this game for like the high level play, so you can have access to your moves whenever you need them without leaving yourself vulnerable and jumping really high into the air to where somebody like Ken, for example, could get you with a Shoryuken or grab you, whatever the case is. So so yeah, I definitely recommend the Pro Controller. The cool thing about this, which I think we talked about, or at least I'll say it at some point if I didn't already do so, is that you can plug it in. If you're worried about wireless detection and stuff like that, you can plug the controller in, and you'll be able to use it as a wired controller, so you don't have to worry. See how I was able to reverse that no problem in the air with this controller? Couldn't do that with the Joy-Cons as much, or even the 8BitO controller, just because the analog stick on this one just feels so much better. So yeah, for me, this is definitely the type of controller I would use. And I would not say, we're going to talk about the next controller. Obviously, the GameCube controller is last, but this is definitely a good controller. If you wanted to use this one to get better at it, I don't think that's a problem when it comes to Smash Brothers. People talk about the GameCube versus this controller, and to be honest, man, I don't really think there's a problem here. I don't really think there's a problem here. I can use this controller no problem. I think even when I was playing, getting to like Elite Smash, like when I got to Elite Smash with Sheik, I was actually using this controller and not a GameCube controller at first, and I got to Elite Smash with Sheik using the Pro controller and not the GameCube controller wirelessly too. So you have options. We have options with this. If you need a wired option, you can do it. If you need a non-wired option, you got it with this one here. So Pro controllers are a bit expensive, but there are multiple different types. I'm talking about the standard Pro controller, and of course, you guys saw I'm using the Xenoblade Chronicles Pro controller. But yeah, I highly recommend this, guys. As you can see, the tech is being pulled off, you know, no problem when it comes to it, you know, being able to reverse, being able to do whatever I need to do, you know, no problem, you know. So yeah, definitely, yeah, good, great controller. And yeah, we got one more controller to talk about, and you guys know where we're going next. Now, last but definitely not least is the GameCube controller. You guys know we're going to be talking about this controller quite a bit. And yes, this is the controller that a lot of us have been using in Smash Brothers for a long time, right? Like, a lot of us have been using the GameCube controller. It has a historic type of elitist feel to the GameCube controller. I think some people feel like you have to use the GameCube controller. And guys, here's a couple reasons why people love the GameCube controller. One, Smash Brothers, the main button in this game is the A button, and the GameCube controller has this big old huge A button in the center of the right grip there. And of course, you have the grips on there, and the way that they're kind of contorted, you know, it just feels good in the hands. It just feels really good in the hands. So I do love that about the GameCube controller. But I think the biggest thing here is just used to the control. That's what everybody is. They're just used to it. It's familiar to them, and it's just a welcome sign. When you're playing Smash Brothers, the GameCube controller has been around since 2001. People playing Smash Brothers with the GameCube controller. You know, even like when you went to like Brawl, like when people decided to play that game, and the GameCube controller was probably the best option over the Wii Remote or over the Pro controller, or the Pro controller that you have to plug into the nunchuck. GameCube controller is right there. You have the ports. So for everybody, I mean, the GameCube controller is just one of these controllers that I use and I just love for Smash Brothers. I think it's just a great controller to use, and it just feels good, guys. It just feels good to use the controller. The buttons are all really nice. The A button, the X and the Y are like the jelly bean shaped buttons, and I don't know if that's better for pressing buttons or not, but for some reason it feels that way. Like, to be able to just press those buttons to jump, for me, it just feels better and everything like that. Although the Pro controller, I don't think that it's far off. I think the Pro controller, some of the buttons might even feel better for short hopping. It just depends. I mean, I don't know. It feels like I alternate between the two. So to me, I mean, obviously the GameCube controller is great. Like, just like the grab button, right? If you use like Z for the grab button, I'm just used to that. So I think the biggest thing here between that is people who have been using the GameCube controller versus people who haven't been using the GameCube controller, you know? And I think that's really what you're gonna find out, what controller is best for you. For me, since I've been using the GameCube controller for a long time, it's just the GameCube controller feels the best. But I don't necessarily think that the Pro controller is so far off, you know, of what you can do or the potential, right? I don't think it's really that far off. So to me, it's they're both really good controllers. It's definitely the GameCube controller is great because it does make somewhat of a lot of noise like when you're using it, you know, but it's still really good for playing, and I have a ton of fun going around with this controller, and oh man, can't hit the guy. And having fun with the controller and using it. So yeah, man. I mean, it's just one of those things to where GameCube controller to me feels the best. But we'll talk about that at the wrap-up here. Alright, so after doing all the different tests here, you guys heard what I have to say. Obviously, I'm going to have to go with my boy, the one, the only, Old Faithful, the GameCube controller. This is just a controller that I've been using for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Super Smash Bros. Melee. I've just been using this controller the longest, so therefore I like it the most. However, the Nintendo Switch Pro controller is not far behind. And one of the things about this controller is that not only can you play it wireless, but you can also connect it through USB-C and you can play it as a wired controller because, guys, believe it or not, there have been times in tournament where the wireless, or what people are using, their cell phones and all the different wireless connections that are going on, have interfered with wireless controllers. Now, I don't know if that's prevalent with the Nintendo Switch, but it did happen for Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U and other games as well. So that's why you see a lot of people using wired options. I just like having the wired option kind of built in there whenever I play Super Smash Bros. So I'm never really going to use a wireless controller. Heck, even for games like Pokken, I bought the Pokken Tournament Pro controller that they had there because, interesting, I think you can use that one for Smash. I'm not sure, actually, because of the D-pad, so I'm not sure about that. But either way, I bought that one as well just because I really like to have that wired controller. But one thing to note, guys, that you can do that with the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. You just have to go into the options on your Nintendo Switch and make sure that you set it to read it as a wired controller as well, and you're able to get that, I guess, stability or get that assurance that there won't be any wireless interference or anything like that. So guys, that wraps it up here for what I think about the controllers and everything with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. If you haven't picked up the game yet, obviously go do so. It's a great game. I love the controller options that you can choose from. And at the end of the day, people ask me, what's the best controller to use? What do you like the most and all that? But really, there is no best controller to use. There is the controller that you want to use. And that's pretty much what it comes down to. It's what controller you want to use. I like to use the GameCube controller, but honestly, guys, I can interchange between the GameCube controller and the Nintendo Switch Pro controller if I wanted to. I can use it. It's just a matter of getting used to whatever you want to do. Heck, if I wanted to, I could probably use this controller too. The only controller that I can't use consistently, though, is the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons. Those ones are just tough for me to use because the buttons are so small, but pretty much everything else is good for me. But it's all about what you guys feel individually. So what do you guys think about all the different controller options for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? What is your favorite controller option to use in the game and why? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Really helps us spread the content of PlayerEssence across the internet, as to YouTube. Also make sure you check out our Patreon, Twitch, and YouTube live gaming pages. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Lets me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for latest RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you for the next video. Peace.